Hello and welcome to this video where I'm going to be showing you how I took these pictures this morning remotely and how you can do it too. Now before we get into that, what we're going to do is have a bit of a garden update. Now some of you may remember from last year's garden update videos, we actually installed the bird box and it's got a camera in it, and over winter I was quite excited because we did have a blue tit stay in there for about a month, sort of in November, early December time, which was really nice to see. And I was hoping because of that it may come back in the springtime and actually nest in there. But unfortunately this year we didn't have any visitors at all, other than a very scary hornet. But thankfully we were in Scotland then, so I didn't have to deal with it. Now over on this side of the garden, up behind me here in the copper beech tree, I have installed the Birdfeet Nest Duo. Now this was sent to me by Birdfeet, which was very kind of them. And unfortunately though, we don't have any visitors in it. It arrived quite late in the season and I did put it up as soon as I could. However, I feel it was just too late and the birds had already secured their nest sites for the season. We did have a couple of sort of very brief visits from a blue tit. However, I feel what I should have done was maybe put on one of the bigger hole sizes that came with the box itself, because I feel that might have been a bit easier for the birds to get in and out. Now I was quite disappointed that we didn't get anything in this nest box because it does have a live stream feature built into it, and I had ideas of being able to live stream a nesting right the way through. However, that wasn't meant to be this year, so hopefully next year we will be able to get something nesting in it. I am going to bring it down in the next few weeks, dust it off and bring it in for winter, and then we're going to redeploy it probably in March next year. Also, Skylar has been helping with the nesting season. She has donated some of her fur to the cause. So it's been out for a little while now, and they've only just sort of this last few days started taking from it, which is nice. So it's good to see you helping as well. And yeah, hopefully we'll see some of this in there. Over the summer, I've been using my trail camera to spy on the visitors that we've had coming in. It has been incredibly hot here in the UK this summer, so the bird bath has proven to be very popular. We also randomly one day had a visit from a rabbit. Now I did get my hopes up at potentially having some owls visiting the garden. I took Skylar out for a wee one night, and on the top of the hawthorn there was an owl looking as surprised to see me as I was surprised to see it. And unfortunately it didn't hang around for too long. I think it was a barn owl. I haven't seen or heard from it since, which is a shame. And then later on we did also get a very brief sighting of a tawny owl up on, there's a telegraph pole, you can't see it, there's a telegraph pole behind this vegetation. It was really late at night, no chance of getting a photo. However, it was good to see and know that they're in the area. I did set the trail camera up on the pecker post to see if anything was coming in overnight that maybe we were getting and we just weren't aware of. However, other than a very healthy crow and magpie population, we weren't really getting much at all, which was a bit of a shame. I found this hole in the garden, and subsequently I have just today seen that there is another one a little bit further up. And that's what piqued my interest and started the sort of process that we're going to go through a bit later in this video. I set my trail camera up to see what was living there, if anything at all. And we have a vole in there. There's at least one vole. And it was coming out pretty consistently at about 6 o'clock in the morning. So what I decided to do was set up a little tripod that I could leave out the front, because I wanted it to get used to it so that I could potentially take some photos. Now this project did start off with the hopes that I would actually be photographing a vole this morning. However, the vole decided not to show, which was a bit unfortunate. I got up at 5:30 and set the camera up on the tripod that I had set up outside its hole. I sat and waited for an hour, and unfortunately nothing to show for it. However, I didn't want that to put me off, so what I did was actually use it to photograph some of the birds that are coming into the garden. Now you can see here there is a very old tripod in the garden, and I have been using that as a way to get the birds used to having a tripod in the garden. So that has been here for a while because I knew this was something that I wanted to try out. With the birds used to the old tripod that I put in the garden, what I did was, after my stint trying to photograph the vole, I put my camera on to the bigger tripod with the 70-200 still, and we were aiming it at the pecker post. Now that is filled with holes that I have been putting suet in over the course of the week to get the birds used to feeding off of that, and then it was a case of setting the camera up in different spots to get different frames of the birds and hope that they would then come in to sort of said position, and so I could take their photos. With the pecker post full of suet and my camera set up, it was then on to connecting it to the Sony Creators app. Now, if you don't have a Sony camera, then you can still do this. Nikon have Nikon SnapBridge and Canon have the Canon Connect app. I connect mine via Bluetooth to my camera, so I still do need to be within sort of view of the camera because Bluetooth seemingly works in line of sight. However, it did mean that I could sit up at the top of the garden and be a good distance away, allowing the birds to come in and feed off of the posts. I tried to get both vertical and horizontal photos, and I am really happy with how they came out. And actually, this was the longest that I had used the Creators app for, and it worked really well. It was easy for me to change the settings. I can add or remove any exposure compensation that I want. I can change the focus point where it was because I had the touch screen sort of to focus turned on. And it was just a great experience, just sitting here watching the birds come in and feed, taking their photos remotely. I feel I got some really nice shots. Now, they're not all perfect by any stretch of the imagination, and I do think that I've got a little bit to work on in order to just get my settings dialed in. I used a combination of focus modes. I went mostly for the focus tracking with the zone area or the XL point. And for the most part, they did quite well. I did still get quite a few misses, and I took an awful lot of empty photos. However, for the most part, I am really pleased with just using this technique. And I know it's not a new technique. Some of you probably would have already done this before. But for those of you that haven't, or haven't done it in a long time, I do suggest you go and give it a try, because you can get some really awesome photos this way, and it is something that I am going to proceed with. I am going to try and get that vole shot, that's for sure. I'm thinking what I'm going to do is actually put my old Nikon D810 out because it doesn't work, and I can just leave it out, and hopefully the vole will get used to seeing that, and when I swap it out for the Sony, it will still be confident enough to come out and have its photo taken. If you are going to try this technique out for yourself, then you're probably going to end up with what is known as a butt ton of photos. So you're going to have to be quite ruthless when you are doing your culling. First of all, I went through and took out all the obviously empty frames, followed by the very blurry out of focus ones. Then, because I was shooting in 30 frames a second and had the pre-capture feature on the A7 IV on, I had loads of very, very similar photos. So I went through and picked my favourite from that set and chose to edit those ones, ending up with about 43 pictures in the end from all of those ones that I took. So I hope you found this video interesting, and hopefully you are inspired to get out and try and use your camera remotely. And if you do, let me know how you get on in the comments below, and I shall see you in the next video. I got a bit distracted there. There's a butterfly using my bird bath, which is quite cool, having a bit of a drink. It's hot today, so that's nice to see that it's not just birds that are benefiting from having the water in the garden.